So, where's everybody else?
Well, the French are already inside the city.
They said there'd be a Chinese squad, too.
File photo doesn't do her justice.
She looks familiar. Reminds me of an actress or someone.
Come on, Bo, you know the only movies you watch are porn. Oh, yeah, right, with the... yeah. Hey, watch this. Excuse me. Hi, I'm Dan, and that is my partner, Bo.
Ni hao.
Thank you for tuning in. This is DJ Fob Fresh from SegaShiro.com, your Sega resource, and this is a video review of Binary Domain. Developed by Sega's Yakuza team, this game was first released on Xbox 360 and PS3 right around the same time as Mass Effect 3, and later appeared on Steam in April. The game was developed with a global audience in mind, and interestingly enough, the game scored better in Japan than it did in North America. This is really unfortunate because Binary Domain has a lot of aspects to it that are great. First of all being that it's a new IP in a year cluttered with sequels. My only hope being that with positive word of mouth, this game can turn into the first sleeper hit of 2012. The footage for this video review is on the Xbox 360. Binary Domain is set in a world beset by global warming. Most of the world has flooded, and the future has built over top of the ruins of former cities. In the wake of this disaster, robots are used as the main labor force to rebuild society. As such, new Geneva Conventions are put into place to protect humans from robots, specifically Clause 21, which bans the creation of hollow children, or robots that look like humans. You play as Dan from the Rust Crew, a group put together to specifically enforce this law. And while it seems easy to write off Binary Domain as a Terminator clone, it's really much more than that and owes much more to anime of the early 80s, early 90s. The robot designs are wonderful, and yet the best thing about them is how they come apart and break apart during action scenes. The action in Binary Domain may not be as insane as Sega's own Vanquish, but the bullets are heavier, chunkier, and a little bit meatier. Between the main character and the squad mates, there's a little more of a tactical edge than some of the other shooters out there. And the duck and cover system sits somewhere nicely in between Gears of War and Uncharted. The controls are nice and tight, and it's great to see what the Yakuza team can do outside of that universe. Another element that separates Binary Domain from some of the other shooters out there on the market is the fact that you can constantly upgrade your own weapons and upgrade your characters with various stats. It adds a minor RPG element to the game, and it works rather nicely, and you're actually scored with your kills. So the more points you get, the more money you can then use to buy new upgrades for your weapons and other items. Every so often the game will pause and pull in the camera and give you a moment to interact with various characters and your squad mates in the game, learning more about them and raising either your morale or their morale. Over the course of the game, I found myself caring about my AI squad mates. Interestingly enough, there's been a few reviewers that have complained that the characters seem cliché, and to that I kind of differ, because very rarely do we have a game with mixed multinational heroes. So, in Binary Domain, yes, the two main characters are American, but you have two British troops, a Chinese troop, and just across the board there's quite a different and varied cast of characters, one of the best being Kane, the French robot. Yakuza team also tried to develop a way that you could speak to your various squad mates using a actual spoken word system. The game can recognize 6 different languages. However, in English, sometimes Bo sounds too much like Go, and the game has some trouble recognizing it. I actually opted to turn off the feature and use just the controller input methods instead. I still enjoyed the game. It didn't take away from it. The game does also feature some multiplayer modes. My particular favorite was Invasion, which is a take on the Horde style of gameplay. I found it a lot of fun to be playing this co-op with friends. It is tough, though. It's a little bit tougher than some of the other ones I've tried. It's got that Sega quality arcadeness to it. Some of the other multiplayer modes are not as strong. However, Japan did get some DLC content that included some of the characters from Yakuza of the End. It would have been awesome if North America got this kind of love from Sega too, but unfortunately it just wasn't to be. I think it's worth taking a moment to talk about the voice acting. At first when I played the game, I was a little taken aback at some of the characters and how they act, but it was just because they were new and different. As I played more of the game, I actually quite enjoyed the voice acting. Occasionally, in-game, like while you're battling, some of the one-liners can be a little bit cheesy, or a little bit silly, or unintentionally funny. However, during cutscenes, the story is actually quite good, and the voice acting is fantastic. In terms of graphics, I was quite impressed with the quality of the facial animations and just the look of some of the characters. I liked a lot of the artistic touches throughout the game, but really, the number one shining aspect are the robots. They really take center stage. They have some great animations, particularly because you can blow off their arms, their legs, their heads, and they all have different animations that happen after that. They're some of the best enemies that I've fought since the Covenant and the original Halo. This is definitely a universe that Sega has created that I would love to revisit again in the future. The sound effects are nice and thick, with a lot of depth, making for a good oral experience. On top of that, the score is solid and befitting of the game and its atmosphere. The story itself is a lot of fun too, featuring some of that classic Yakuza melodrama throughout the tale. Definitely worth sticking to this game through the end, just because the twists towards the end of the game are great. They're incredible. I put about 15 to 20 hours into the game so far, but your first playthrough will take you about 9. It's a little bit unfortunate though. The game could have really used a save game plus so that you could have kept your weapon upgrades in the next playthroughs. And while I said earlier on in the review that this game owes more to anime than it does to Terminator, this is still the best Terminator-styled game you've ever played. Just shooting these robots is a ton of fun, and it feels like this is what a Terminator game should play like. If anything, Yakuza Team has proved here with Binary Domain that Japanese development is far from dead. In fact, it can play with any Western developer whenever it wants. Now hopefully, this game will start to get some of the recognition it deserves. Binary Domain might not stand as tall as Bayonetta or Vanquish, but it's still a solid title with a nice mature anime feel. This is DJ Fob Fresh from SegaShiro.com, saying keep on gaming.